Hello! Welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I'm a knitter who is back in London after my little stay in Norway. It's Wednesday today and I returned late on Monday, and yesterday I was just back in business, back to work, back to everything. Excuse me, just adjust this thing. Never mind. And yeah, welcome back those of you who are still following me, and huge welcome to those of you who just started following this podcast. I hope you will enjoy it. We're kind of back to the usual now. Been a lot of episodes that I've started by saying, oh, this is not gonna be like the other ones and don't expect this to be like as good or as bad as it otherwise is. Today we're very much back in the loud business that is London. I'm gonna shut the window. Hang on. I keep forgetting to say this. You can find me, of course, as Skeindeer on Ravelry and Instagram, and I have a Ravelry group called Skeindeer Knits that I really hope you want to join. I am trying to be good with this group. Like, I read everything relentlessly, but I keep forgetting to put up show notes. They are always included in the video upload in the description, so that's why I forget, but I keep trying to put them up, so you can choose yourself if you wish to discuss or talk or whatever, or comment there or here on YouTube. It's up to you, but do join, and hopefully it's a group we can use for various sorts of things in the future, so it's probably just convenient, I guess. But yes, I'm back in London, back to that stupid window that doesn't have any blinds, so it's just... yeah, and I have a jumper, and this is not a jumper that I have knitted for myself. It's actually a jumper that I won in a contest previous Christmas to the last one, and it was like an advent calendar contest that this dairy company had for the yogurt on Facebook. So every day of Advent they would have a question, a prompt for you to answer, and you could win a hand-knitted jumper designed by the needle lady. And I can't believe that I won. That's just one of those instances where, like, I can't believe I never win anything, you know. So I win a hand-knitted jumper designed by one of my favorite designers, who's also a friend of the podcast. Hello, Andrea. And so that was really cool. So these cows are the Litago cows, which is like a brand of yogurt and like dairy drinks that we have in Norway. And I guess that's my only drawback for this pattern, is that the yarn floats here very tight, so they don't fit my breasts as well as they would probably otherwise. Like, that's not where my garments usually are tight. They're usually tight more around here, but this is a very like waist fitted one. Like, it doesn't go any further than this. I keep just rolling it up because if only it was a tiny bit shorter it would actually be perfect, but still it's perfect. Pretty close to perfect, except for the sleeves. I kind of wish they were this much longer. Had I had this wool, I just rip off the rib or just cut it off and knit a bit further and put them back on. If I ever get my hands on this yarn, I think it's Pure Wool by Pickles. If I ever get my hands on that, I will probably do that, because I really do love this jumper, and I finally got it to London. It's been languishing back in Norway for a long time, so now I get to wear it again, and I think it's just super cute. I am a bit fussy about the collar. It's very tall, so I've tried to fold it over twice, which seems to work, and because this is a lovely sticky pure wool that you will always hear me raving about, it definitely stays down and you can sort of configure it to your fit that way. So I thought we'd kick off this episode by doing a bit of a Norway haul. So I'll start off with the stuff I'm not going to cover today, just to get that out of the way and ignore the stuff on the bed. We'll get there, we'll get there. So I decided, I live in London, I shouldn't have my knitting books in Norway. So I brought half of it maybe. Like, I know I have more than half still left in Norway, but I brought a big bunch, and I can't believe I managed to carry this in my hand luggage and in one check-in suitcase. Most of these were in the hand luggage because they never weigh those. I think they're gonna change that now because it's a bad idea for them. So it's a pretty good stack. This is a really cool series of socks and mittens by Tori, who's a designer on Ravelry. So you should be able to find a lot of these patterns in English. yeah, just gonna cover these briefly. We're gonna go more in depth in another episode. I just want to talk about these very quickly. So this is a new book about hats, because I want to get better at hats, and this designer is just the most crazy productive one that we have in Norway probably. So she's just churning out books, several a year. So this was one that she's got for hats, and she's got 2 of socks, and she also releases like a knitting calendar book every year. Yeah, and these books, you guys, these 2 cardigan books are the best. I love them so much. We will definitely talk about these, believe me. So, and these are some shade cards from Holstjarn. That's a Danish brand of pure wool that I love. I've actually yet to have knitted a finished garment with these, but I got plenty of yarn by them, and I'm definitely going to use that in my Latvian Mitten year, which is, we'll get back to that as well. And this is the Fairy Tale Mitten book. I have talked about this before. It's by a bunch of designers who are fairly well known on Ravelry among Norwegian designers. And it's full of mittens, so naturally I like it. And this is a brand new Swedish book, which has been hugely popular in the knitting community online and elsewhere. We'll definitely go over this later. I don't know this one that well yet, because I just purchased it. But I love it. It's the aesthetics of this book, you guys. It's like, this is what I want people to do in Norway to, well, it's not translated, but it's like, in addition to translating, I want to see this aesthetic. I want to see this appeal to maybe people who are not that well known with this particular tradition of knitting and techniques and what have you. Again, we'll go more in depth later. And of course, I had to bring at least one of my Marius books, because I have several. I really think this is a great book. There is another one as well that was published before this one, and they seem to just about overlap in patterns. There are so many Marius patterns, so neither of the books actually cover all of them. They don't even cover all of them put together, in fact. Anyway, and this is a fabulous mitten book that was released last January, and yeah, I believe also the designer here is familiar with this podcast, because I have knitted these mittens, you might remember. They have now been given away to a friend of mine who wishes to give these to her grandmother, and I believe she has now, so I really hope they fit her, because they didn't fit me. And this is a book about Nordic knitting. I think this is original in Swedish, but I have a Norwegian translation, because that's the one we had in Norway. So this should give you an idea of the kind of stuff you could find in this book. I have not knitted anything from it yet. That's the problem by having these in Norway. I try to do like photocopies of it that I keep for myself for private use, so that I can have that in my digital archives. I don't need to bring the books, but I just decided I want these books here. And if I'm going to ever leave London, I probably need a car anyway. Driving to Norway is going to be a hoot. So I just realised this is an old library book about Norwegian knitting. Love this one. And lastly, another delicious cardigan book by Sunnis Design. You can buy this, I think, from Scandinavian Designs. There's a website for that. Cascade yarns. I can't tell you if it's translated. I really don't think it is, but if you're very experienced, you'll get the charts. You can put that in your own jumper or cardigan design. So yeah, those are the books. We'll definitely do a big book episode in the future, but let's just get to the yarns. Well, actually, before we get to the yarns, I bought myself a Christmas present this year, and it's a knitting bag by the Needle Lady. So she was so kind and sent me 2 bags for free, just to be nice to this podcast, and I decided, well, if her bags are as great as they are, of course, if I love them so much, I should buy one as well. And this is slightly, quite a lot bigger one, so it should fit like shawl projects, things that require more skeins, maybe even a jumper. Like, I'm gonna try to make jumpers that are more compact. I like working with lighter yarns, thinner yarns, so that should be possible. And I love these bags, they're just so light. Like, it's classic Needle Lady to focus on the weight of both the equipment that you use for knitting as well as the yarn, so that you can be bothered to carry it. Because if you're just working on really chunky heavy stuff, it might be enjoyable to knit because it's quick, but otherwise you might not actually find yourself using it. Because why would you put a jumper in your bag if it weighs a half a kilo, and then a knitting project bag which is really heavy, so that's not an issue here. So I could say the same thing about this jumper. Like, she didn't knit this like there were like allocated knitters for this advent calendar, because it was like, what, 24 jumpers, but I believe this is the recommended yarn, and it's very light as well. This jumper weighs hardly anything, I feel. Okay, yarn. So as I've told you before, I have a lot of yarn in Norway and I have a lot of yarn here, and I figured the least I can do is to merge these stashes so that I can have a chance of reducing it. So I still have one of those big IKEA boxes full of yarn in Norway that I didn't have a chance to bring because I ended up buying so much that I prioritized that, as you do. That's just mainly a bunch of merino yarns, primarily, in some other yarns I'm really not that keen on using. So I've just prioritized the yarn I really love. And so we're gonna cover that now. First of all, we have this market bag that I knitted this summer, and it's full of the rest of the yarn, and well, the same yarn. It's Drops Paris. I bought so much of this a while ago because I was crocheting a burger dress, which halfway through I realized was a terrible idea. So now I just have a bunch of like burger bun colored yarns. I don't know what to do about it. I might just make more of these market bags for whichever reason, and they're good. Like, they're good to carry things in. I don't know, they could be good gifts. Like, who wouldn't like that? And they're just pretty. This might not be the best way of knitting it with these stripes, I don't know, but it's a very cool looking pattern, and if I forget to include a link for that, there's definitely a project page for it on my Ravelry page. So yeah, that's a huge load of like worsted Aran weight cotton. There's nothing, just hang in there. This is a whole bag of Drops alpaca, and if you follow this podcast, you know that I'm not super keen on alpaca, mostly because I do color work and I don't think alpaca is suitable for color work. Having said that though, alpaca is suitable for a lot of other things. It's a very drapey yarn, so I recommend it for shawls, definitely. I have a shawl in alpaca that I really love, so I might do a sort of like stash giveaway, or if someone wants to buy this for me for like just the postage, I could do that. But I might also try to do shawls in this. I don't know, like this is enough to make a, hang on, it's enough to make this cardigan. That was my intention, that's why I bought all of this, and I ripped out some other projects. But I'm already working on that in Drops Baby Merino, so this is not going to be used for that, and I don't think it would have been nice in it either. Not the way I knit anyway. I'm sure other people can do it nice, because that one on the book cover is an alpaca and it looks super nice. So if anyone's, I don't know, I'm not going to promise that I will give this away, but if anyone's like dying to get it, I might just rid myself of it. I don't know, And then there's this bag. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but when I was in Scotland in 2015, I went to see a friend of mine and her mom. She used to have a yarn shop ages ago, and now she's retired and she's like 90 something, but she has a bunch of yarn still that she's not going to use up. So she gave me this whole bag of Shetland lace yarn. It's all brown and white. I'll just show you the biggest skein of brown. How lucky am I? Oh god, oh, it's so fine. I don't know if this is too fine to do garments, if I should hold this double. Let's just give you an idea of how fine it is, just holding it over my finger. So yeah, if I knit this double, I could definitely do a cardigan. Don't know, to be honest. And we got some white, and the white is white. There's nothing particularly extraordinary there, except for the huge load of all of this. So I already have a cone of black lace yarn, so I could do this together with that, or I could just use these. And gosh, I don't know guys, I am so grateful for this whole load, and now I finally have it here so I can actually work on it instead of just owning it. So that's the stuff that I brought from my stash. So there's still that big box of mainly Drops merino yarns and a few other things, and I also gave away some big shopping bags of yarn to kindergartens because they always use yarn to play around with. But I did purchase a huge load, and those of you who've seen the last episode, which I put up very recently because I didn't have any Wi-Fi in the cabin in Norway, you will have seen that I bought a huge load, and it's vacuum packed. So my boyfriend's mum, she came up with a brilliant idea to get these bags where you can like swish out all the air. They're made for that, so that you can carry lots of yarn when you travel. She knows knitters' needs, so got that. One I've already opened, so now it looks like a big bunch, but it was really compact when it was in here. I'm just gonna start with the best. Let's just do that. These are Finullgarn by Hillesvåg. Is it for? I can't tell if it's focusing, you guys. It's called Selbu. This is a brand new wool. They're not bleached, so all the colors are fairly dark. So I don't know how well these two will go together in some color work mittens or what have you. I might just save them until I get some lighter colors. But yeah, let's just read some info. This is a Norwegian pelsull. It translates to fur wool, but it's a particular breed of sheep that's called, I think it's called pelsull, so i.e. sheep. Anyway, it's 100 grams skein, so that for some reason says in brackets true times 50 grams, and it says it's got 350 meters, which is fairly good. So if you are thinking in terms of 50 gram skeins, that's 175 meters, which is fairly standard for these types of wools. Finullgarn is the same. Like Navia Duo is 180. You got the 2-ply old series, 2 år gammel serie, is maybe 160, 165. So they generally are around that. So this is fairly good. It should be substitutable for any yarn that's, any patterns that's written for other kinds of yarns. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I don't know, have anything else to say really. It feels like the kind of wool this is, you know, that's not, could not be mistaken for any superwash merino, believe me, but it's not scratchy. I don't know if I would do shawls with this, but it wouldn't be, no, actually that wouldn't be an issue. It wouldn't be my top choice, but this is where I'm more scratch sensitive and I'm not feeling any problems here, so. But I would generally think mittens, hats, cardigans, that kind of thing would be the best thing for this yarn. Obviously I only have 2 skeins, so that's not going to happen, but mittens surely. Yeah, really happy about getting these. I wish they'd have some lighter colors though. I know they have a lighter grey, but they'd sold out. And I think that's what happens because people do use these for color work, so they will need a, they can't just buy 2 dark colors the way I did, so naturally the light grey was sold out. Recommend that shop should probably just have had more of that. Anyway, love these so much. Oh dear. And this yarn is so amazing. This is the Fairies yarn actually. I already have a load of it. I have 2 skeins, one white and one light blue that a friend from Loop Knit Night gave me. So I just think this is fabulous. It's the reason why, and look at this strand, like there's nothing particularly fine about it. It looks like any of my other 2-plies or 4-ply pure wools, except this is a single ply that's got this very fine strand of wool that's been twisted around it, so it's still like it looks plied, and it's got 350 meters and a 50 gram skein, where the yarn is this thick. It's not super thick, but it's not as fine as you'd think for something that's essentially lace. So definitely gonna do mittens with it. I mean, I already got a white skein. What am I waiting for really? And it's just, I just love getting lots of meters for the per gram, because as I said, I like things that weigh very little. And here we are. I got more of these so-called wool blanket yarns, which is like one of those really cheap brands that you get in supermarkets, and I've said it before, like this is one of those things where you feel like they don't know what they have. They call it wool blanket yarn, and I just see possibilities with this. It's a pure wool of 200 meters, like got no complaints here. So definitely a affordable yarn to look out for. Having said that though, I've not knitted this up, so it might not be as great as the other pure wools. I don't see why it wouldn't be. I suspect it will act similarly to Cascade 220 fingering, except a bit heavier. That's my prediction. Which is a good yarn, I like it. And I got one skein of Rauma Baby Panda because I already have enough of the red skein, so I can make these mittens that I showed you for myself, the ones that were too small. And the rest that's in here, I do believe is, most of it is lamb's wool yarn, and there's some Tutor Gamla serie, i.e. Tutor 2-ply old series. So I'm just going to show you the whole load from within the plastic. Hopefully that's alright. Okay, fine, I'll take one out. So this is the lamb's wool yarn I keep raving about. I love this yarn. I've actually never knitted with it. I just hold it in such high esteem. I'm scared to cast it on because I've only had a few skeins. Now, however, I got a bunch, so it's nothing holding me back. And they have 250 meters per 50 gram skein, which I think is lovely. You will get very light garments from this, and I want to do a garment in this yarn, but I didn't buy sweater quantities. I mean, I did, but I bought so many different colors, so that's not what I'm gonna make with it. I will do mittens. Surprise. So that was one bag. I got 3, so hang in there. So we have to open these live, you guys, because they're still vacuum packed. So this is how compact they are. Definitely recommend these. There you go. So, oh dear, this is a lot of stash busting. More from my stash. Lots of things I want to give away. We've got Dale Hegre, which is, I'd never touched this skein. I don't know why I bought it. I think I was going to make finger puppets with it. Don't ask me why. Then I found this elsewhere in my stash, and it's the same yarn. So I might be generous and give this away to someone. Because Dale is like, it's good stuff. We got some Védís garn, which is just a good, very feltable, chunky yarn. Close up. And this is some scraps from the jumper that I made for Mom. So when I say scraps, we actually have like 2 whole skeins and then a little small one. So again, things I might give away. It's a cotton merino blend. It's called Dale Lerke. They name all their yarns after birds. I think that's really lovely. And the rest we have here is, oh, there's a Dale Falk. Falk is like their gold standard yarn, I think. And the rest of it is more Finull and some lamb's wool and 3-ply yarn that they have, Rauma. So we'll get back to that because there's another bag. And this is the biggest one. I know, I'm crazy. The good news is that majority of stuff in this bag is actually not for me. Also something I'll get back to. We don't have that much time this episode because there's a lot to cover and we're only at the beginning, you guys. So this is the whole load. Oh god. So the vast majority of it is actually, okay, I'll show you one that looks a bit nice still. 3-ply yarn. So it has 105 meters per 50 gram skein, about a gauge of 22 stitches per 10 centimeters or 4 inches. And yeah, I got a bunch of white and black ones. If you want to see them laid out and see my previous episode, I think I'm covering them fairly early on. Sorry, it got very dark here. That's what happens when I show you white skeins. Got some brown ones as well. I think I got 3 of these. It's for my Davies yoke, just because I'm nervous about how much yarn I will need. And this lovely yellow skein. I know exactly which mittens to make with these. Put in a picture if I remember. So huge load of yarn. But yeah, like I said, this is not gonna go into my stash, most of it. We'll get back to it. So yeah, I thought we could do a little 2016 summary and a 2017 goal kind of thing. So I've done some stats, not much, because that's one of my 2017 goals, to do more stats. So for now, I'm just gonna gone through my Ravelry and seen what I've done this year. And I have done 41% gift knitting and also 41% ego knits, that stuff for myself. And I think that's a fairly good 50-50 ratio between the two. I've also done 18% storage knitting, and I don't know what else to call it really. It's just stuff that I wanted to knit for the sake of making it. But they weren't intended for anyone in particular. I guess they are for me, because I'm not giving them away. But it's mainly just like stacks of mittens and similar. So yeah, that's the ratio, and I'm happy with that. I don't think having units too high is bad, and having gift knits, that just depends on your preference. I always support making stuff for yourself. I think it's just nice to treat yourself well, and when you're a knitter, I think you invest so much time and there's only one person who will appreciate it as much as it should be appreciated, and that is you, and maybe another knitter. So let's go through the stats of how much I've knitted in total of each type of garment. We covered this in detail 2 episodes ago, so we're not going to go, the royal we're not going to go that much into detail. I'm just going to show you the graph that I made. So that was 23% garments, and that will include 2 baby projects. The rest of the garments were adult sized. 2 of them were just steak this year, so it's not as impressive as it looks, but still there's a lot of jumpers, and a lot of them are gifted, which is incredible. I usually only gift 1 jumper a year at most, so pretty crazy. And I've done 29% mittens. Some of these are mitts, but they were still fairly large, so definitely counts. 9% hats. Not much of a hat knitter, but I did have a tiny hat mojo this year, so I hope, well, last year, I hope to find it again this year. And we've done the royal we again, done 14% home decor. I just call it home. It's usually Christmas balls and pot holders and my Mario's pillow. And there is 11% shawls. One of them I did finish in 2017, so I'm not sure if it counts. I still counted it. I make the rules. And then 40% socks. That's only 6 pairs actually. One of which is the stockings that I started in 2015. So if I can make 6 pairs of socks unintentionally, so to speak, I think I should be able to make it to the box of socks KAL this year. Shouldn't be that hard to just double that number. Anyway, I will give some prices to my own projects, and not actually prices, just like say which one was my favorite. And I think my favorite socks were definitely Selbu Blå, my blue socks. They're just nice and comfy and look pretty. But I still have a really good experience with knitting the fish-lipped kiss heel, so that's something I'll do in the future. And I was very proud of these 2 pairs of socks I gifted to friends of mine. Just put pictures of those here as well. They are very close runner-ups. And my best shawl is my Andrea shawl. Had it within reach, so might as well show you. Showed you many times, and it's just super nice, and I reach for it all the time. It's perfect for me and my needs, and this is one of the cases where I really find good use of alpaca, and that's kind of where I would like to use my other alpaca stash for, but I don't know if I will. I've already done this pattern once, so I'm kind of looking ahead to other things, and I got plenty of shawl yarns anyway, and how many shawls do you need really? And of course my favorite home decor, which technically also falls into mittens, is my advent garland mitten calendar. And the best hat is definitely the Sockhead Slouch hat. Can't remember the designer's name, I'm putting it here. It just really got me back into hat knitting, and it really taught me that if I just have a rib for where the fit has to, where it counts, the hat's gonna fit me. So my main problem has probably been that I don't color work hats or from here on up, so that's probably why I've not hit the right fit, although obviously it is possible. And I'm going to try that this year. Best garment, which is a bit cheeky, is my Elinor cardigan. Just put a picture of here. It's designed by the needle lady known as Pinneguri as well, or Andrea. It's kind of cheeky to mention it here because I knitted the majority of it in 2015, but I've been wearing it in 2016, so I'm still going to mention it. And if it's still not okay with you, well, runner-up is probably the Riddari jumper that I knitted for my boyfriend twice. Once because he lost it, and twice because I love him. So he loves that one as well. I think that's like the most loved jumper I've ever made anyone. It's well looked after now. And lastly, my favorite mittens, and those are definitely the Christmas mittens of 2016. So this is an advent calendar KAL, a mystery KAL, and I'm super happy with this pattern. They fit me really well. Let me just show you. Sorry it got really dark. I keep trying to adjust it but it doesn't work. So these are the mittens, and it's just my size. I can't believe it. I didn't know much about this pattern in terms of size. Like, we got some info, so I'm very fortunate that they fit as well as they do. And they feel very nice, and they got a gorgeous Christmassy motifs, I should say, with Merry Christmas in various languages at the top. I might be biased in choosing these because they are the most recent ones I made, but they're also the most pain-free ones I made. The other ones I've had issues with fit one way or another. It's fine, it happens. But yeah, these were maybe where all like the knowledge I accumulated this year last year came together, so that I could have a perfect pair of mittens that I didn't have to think back on in terms of fit. So in addition to being the best mittens I made this year, I actually also deemed them my favorite pattern of the year. Did I say it was designed by Tori Seierstad? Well, they are, and her mittens are fabulous. She does other things as well, of course, but I am a mitten knitter, so I knitted 2 pairs of her mittens this year, and they were both really good and fit my hands super well. The best yarn, no doubt, is the Rauma Finullgarn. I just happen to have some skeins lying here because my friend Christy is visiting and she's got a bunch of it. So I can actually hold up a skein for you. Not that they're lacking here as well, of course, but this one looks a bit more well taken care of, shall I say. I also would say Hillesvåg Ask, which is what I made those mittens with. It's very comparable to Rauma Finull, really. So I'm just going to give them the equal status there. But if you can't get your hands on those yarns from where you live, I would definitely give an honourable mention to Cascade 220. Whether it's their like worsted weight or their fingering weight, they're both really good. They are not comparable with these types of Scandinavian or Shetland yarns, but they're still like a good compromise if you have issues with scratchiness and you do want something softer, maybe more machine washable. Not that they are super wash, mind you, but I feel like, I don't know, they're just as machine washable. I don't know saying that, but they do have more of a softness to them, and they're more affordable, more available. So I'll definitely give them an honourable mention. My most used yarn though was dropped Baby Merino. Bit of shame of that. It's not a great yarn, it's not bad yarn either by all means, and I got many of my favourite garments knit with that wool. And it's very nice to knit for other people when I knit gifts, because they usually have no complaints about the yarn. They can wash it and it's affordable, so for me to spend money on it and give to other people, that's not a huge issue. But it's kind of boring that I keep using that yarn, so one of my resolutions for this year is to not use drops yarns that much, especially with their merinos. There are so many other great yarns out there and I want to try those instead. And I paid a lot of money for this yarn, so it's time to start using it. I've tried to mention like a favorite designer of the year, but I don't stick to just like 1, 2, 3 designers. I knit from just about anyone. I'm not picky when it comes to designer at all. If I like the project, I will knit it. I don't have, well, I do have some kind of designer loyalty, but I won't try to make everything someone's made, for instance. I will definitely keep an eye out from certain designers. So I'm just going to give some honourable mentions of designers I kept coming back to the past year. One is Søiland, which is not really a designer who designs anymore because she's passed away, but she is basically the lady behind the Marius pattern and is the one I will credit for anything that the Sannes design company has made patterns of based on her Marius jumper. So she's definitely a designer I keep coming back to. I kept looking to the side because I remember I do have this book, and it's essentially a book based on her designs. It's made way after she passed away. It's a very recent book, but this is what I'm talking about. The other designer, should be no surprise, is Kate Davies. Kate Davies is brilliant. It's one of those colourwork designers you can access from anywhere in the world because she's on Ravelry. You can easily get hold of her patterns. You can get them in English because, well, it's her first language. So I say that because that's not the case with Norwegian design, so you can still have a lot of fun with colourwork in a way that's perhaps explained more to your mind with her patterns. And I just love her designs. I definitely want to knit more of her designs the coming year. The other design I want to mention is of course Tori Seierstad, because her mittens are. And I want to mention Pinneguri, the needle lady, for her amazing sewing bags, the sewed knitting bags, and designs. This jumper, my Elinor cardigan, the lace mittens I gifted to a friend of mine, probably other stuff. Yeah, definitely keep coming back to her designs, and I will definitely knit some of her designs in the coming year. I have some in mind. And then there's of course Védís Jónsdóttir, which is a Icelandic jumper knitter designer. She's pretty much designed most of those Lopesa, I can't pronounce that, jumpers that you see in Iceland. And I also want to give credit to, they're at the bottom of the pile now, but those cardigan books I showed you, I keep coming back to those as well. I keep just loving to flick through them, because they are just an amazing collection of cardigan patterns that I really, really love. It's a shame they didn't release any more books the past year. They've done so the previous 2 years. And of course, Rauma designs, they have a lot of focus on old Norwegian designs and keep bringing them back, so definitely want to mention those. And favorite books. Should be no surprise to anyone, these two. I believe this one was released 2016. I think if it was the previous year, I got my hands on it in 2016, so love it, love it, love it, love it. And at least I think I did. And this one, Selbu Mitten book. I'm gonna enjoy these two books so much this year. That's one of my goals. So let's talk about my goals. I want to knit 12 pairs of socks. I'm sure you know about the box of socks, KAL, and I'm not a sock knitter, but wouldn't it be nice to have a box of socks? And I kind of enjoy sock knitting now that I have some short circulars that I prefer. I also have some double pointed carbon needles now, so maybe I'll actually enjoy that. And I just want to get the sock knitting obsession I see around me on the knitting podcasting community. I am probably not gonna make the sort of typical vanilla sock that people do make around here with like hand-dyed yarns and that kind of thing. I will most likely try something a bit more complicated. It will be stranded a lot of the time. Some lace or cable, or yeah, we'll see. I want to get my hands on more Regia yarn. I made some socks in Regia, and that's the perfect sock yarn, I think. The Germans really know how to do their sock yarns, so I can definitely recommend that brand if you want some durable socks. Another goal I have is to have 5 ego garments. When I say that, I mean garments for me. 5 garments. Most likely just cardigans, but who says it can't be a jumper or what have you. So that's a goal that I have. Related to that is knitting up my sweater quantities that I've not used. So I'm not gonna push myself to finish my widths. I will hope to, but I will definitely wish to knit up my sweater quantities that I've not started yet. At least that will be a start. And then I want to take part in more KALs. I'm already taking part in, I think, 3 KALs in the beginning of this year. I'm doing the Resolutions KAL by Nordic Stitches podcast. I'm doing the Find Your Fade Shawl KAL, get back to that in a bit. And I'm doing the Andy Satterlong that Inside number 23 is hosting. And I believe Andy Satterlong is having her own KAL with her own patterns. I guess that's 4 KALs. It's pretty good. So I want to do more KALs, that's my goal. And I guess I'll do the 12 socks, box of socks KAL, which is 5. I think I'll reach this goal. And I want to do yarn and color stats. So I did some stats that I showed you now. I just want to do more. I'm sorry, I still have a cold, so sometimes that nasal sound comes out. You don't want to hear that. Yeah, I want to do, like I've seen Minna Phillips of the Knitting Expat podcast do this. She makes this amazing spreadsheet in Excel. I don't know how she does it, but I want to try something similar. So that's a goal that I have, and that's my last goal, I think. I might have some other ones that I've forgotten. They'll probably come up in later episodes. They're not like resolutions, because I feel like that's a very strong word. Anyway, I want to talk about my finished object that I didn't get to talk about in my last episode, and it's my Duchess of Devonshire shawl. Here it is. So this is my completely rip-off of Katie of Inside number 23, because she just expressed so strongly how much she loved this, and I looked at it and I was like, I love it too. And I don't know why, because like this sort of mishmash of blue and orange should really not appeal to me, yet it does, because it's so lovely and it feels great. That little percentage of cashmere makes all the difference. I mean, not that merino or nylon would be so bad in the first place, but the addition of cashmere. Yeah, so I've yet to weave in the ends. I know, I just don't do that. I had one issue with this shawl, which is a bit silly. So you kind of knit this edge here sideways, and you knit in a stitch from the edge to a stitch of your shawl, and that should add up. The math says it should, but it didn't. So this is how it starts. It starts by increasing to 1 triangle. Yeah, when I was almost done, I had too many stitches left, far too many. So I had to increase to like another triangle before I could actually bind off. Which doesn't really matter. I don't think that's something you will think about unless you know. And so unless you compare the two sides actively, like, I think it's gonna matter, and it looks nice still. I have yet to block it, so it looks very narrow now. I was hoping it will be wider this way, so maybe that's something blocking will do, I hope. And then I will wear it relentlessly, because there's still a lot of winter left. So yeah, only good things to say about this pattern really. It's delightfully simple to make. I needed some brain power to do the lace at the very edge, and I was fairly sick, so I didn't have any, and maybe that's where the extra stitches issue came from. I really did have the right stitch count before I did the edge, so I'm not sure what went wrong. I've not dropped any stitch, and there's like, I really have looked through in detail and I can't tell where the error is. It might have been at the very beginning, and I'm not ripping back. It's not that big of a deal. So that's my only finished object. I am still working on my bee mittens, but I have made some progress, and first one is almost finished. It's lacking a thumb, but aside from that, it's a bee mitten. So I don't know what to say. It's getting quite big. My boyfriend doesn't have this big hands, and I've seen Jonkel designs her other mittens, and they do look really huge. She makes them so that she can wear gloves underneath. She might be from a really freezing area or something, way more than Norway it could be. So I don't really mind. I made these in larger gauge than she's made her pattern for, because this is for a man. Now I'm wondering if that was necessary. They seem to be right height-wise, but width-wise are a bit too wide. Maybe if I'd done a thumb gusset instead, that would have a better fit. This is a sore thumb, so the mitten width will always be the same, whereas if you do a thumb gusset, you get this sort of hand increase in the width of the thumb, or the width of the hand itself. Hope that made sense. If you've done this, you know what I mean, at least. Don't know what else to say really. I do really love her designs. They are super cool, slightly rude. It's just so these are just both gonna say B, I think, unless I come up with something else. And I am working on the second one, and I'm just gonna show you. So as you'll see, I'm using short circulars. This is higher, and I think they're 30 centimeters. I think that's 12 inches. And I've noticed that when I use short circulars, they seem to become wider and shorter, the mittens. Initially I was like, oh, of course, because I'm stretching everything out when I'm knitting, that makes sense. I'm not stretching them out here though. They're not being stretched at all. The needles fit the mittens perfectly fine, and they're, you know, slightly smaller in circumference, so I don't know why they still keep getting wider, if there's something about how I knit magic loop that makes them more narrow. Because I've done mittens that basically have the exact same proportions in terms of rows and stitches, and they were way more narrow than these. So that's kind of where my comparison is. So I don't know what's going on. I would appreciate any sort of knowledge from you viewers. I don't really mind. I'm just going to take it into account, given whatever I knit. I almost forgot some of my stash haul. This is a little extra bag, because this is what I bought in Selbu. So I'm going to tell you more about this later, but this is what lots of people make their Selbu mittens. It's Selbu Husfridsgarn. So this is like their own yarn. It's really getting sunny now, so I should wrap this up before it gets in my eyes. So I got a black and a white one. So more Selbu mittens. And lastly, we just have one rip, and I'm gonna wrap this up because I need to get to work and it's almost 11. And my Find Your Fate shawl lives in here, and I've showed you this brown skein before, I swear I'm casting on with. It's the most beautiful brown. It's by this yarn dyer. Can't pronounce French, I'm not going to. But I saw this, I was like, I don't know what other yarns to get, but this one, it has to go with this one. So I ended up getting this. And this, which is also caked with a knitting needle apparently. And I've got these three. This is, as I've said before, very much outside my comfort zone. These sort of shawl knittings, using hand-dyed yarns, using not this type of wool, not this type of project. It's easier, it's quicker, it's more efficient. You can get a lot of like surface area in terms of knitting done in a very short time. So I really don't understand why. I do understand why people love it so much, but I also want to encourage people to maybe go slightly more advanced. I shouldn't say it's more advanced. Sometimes my mind struggles more with these types of shawls than I do with this kind of garment, because I said that I haven't actually made this one, but you know what I mean. I do a lot of times. So yeah, it's about what you're used to as well, of course. But I think try everything. Like, it's fine if you want to specialize and just be a sock knitter or a shawl knitter or a jumper knitter or a mitten knitter. You don't have to make everything, but at least have tried it. Okay, I said I would wrap things up, but I have one of my best friends is visiting. She lives in Oxford, but she's having an internship in London, and she's also a knitter, and she's probably why I'm a knitter. She's certainly part of my origin story, and she's one of those knitters who pretty much only does garments. She's like done socks and mittens. She's just like, oh no, I can't do it. They never turn out how I want them, so I only make garments because that's easier. She thinks that's easier, it's fine. So I'm just gonna cheekily show you the cardigan that she brought today. That I think that's her latest creation. How gorgeous is it? It's so nice. So yeah, I've not asked her for permission, but I'm sure it's fine. It's just, oh, I gotta put name and designer in a book of origin here. But yeah, I wish I'd made this. So it's in Rauma Finull, of course. She's listening to my yarn advice and she seems to really love it, and is going more from the merino place to a fine wool place now, which is good. For this type of knitting, that's really good. You can see how nice it looks with this yarn. It's not been blocked or anything, she just knits it and puts it on, which is cool. So that's all that I have for you today. I have to get to work, so oh god, it gets so dark sometimes. Sorry. So I hope you have had a lovely New Year's. If I didn't tell you last time, I probably did. I hope you'll have a great 2017. So happy that you guys are here. I get super happy every time I get a comment, whenever more people subscribe, when I see people join the Ravelry group and introduce themselves. And I just feel like I got lots of friends who are like, give me warm like well wishes when I'm ill, say nice things about like my dogs or my family's cabin, and it's just so nice. Nice is the word of what you guys are and bring to me. So I will see you in the next episode. Hopefully I won't have any troubles making that one as well. I do have my friend staying over for a long time. Maybe she'll just guest it instead. We'll see. Anyway, see you next time. Goodbye.